So my name is Mckenzie Towns. Quick introduction. I am the Director of Customer Experience here at PooPrints and Biopet Laboratories. We are really excited today to be going through the Unleashing Better Living webinar with you guys, the Pet Friendly Property Playbook. So we have put together a panelist that we're very, very excited to share. So we've got a few people that we really feel like embody pet friendliness in the operator space, and then also on the supplier side through a partnership, and then through our parent company, Biopet Laboratories. Guys, I'm going to give you a second on the panelist side. If you will just kind of go through a brief introduction, 30 seconds to 1 minute on kind of who you are and, why you're here from a pet friendly perspective.
You want me to start, Mckenzie?
Yeah, Jay, you go on.
Perfect, thank you. I'm Jay Retinger, CEO of Biopet Laboratories. We're the parent company to the PooPrints program. I want to start by thanking you all for taking some time to join us today. I know everybody is busy and has things going on. And then I do want to take a quick second and publicly thank our panel. Jamin and Gina I think they're legends. They're heroes of mine. And so I appreciate them joining us. I love to hear what they have to say. Vanessa with Phi, thank you. We've gotten to know you recently. And so we're looking forward to today, looking forward to some conversation and hearing what's going on in the industry. Jamin, I'll kick it to you.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on here. My name is Jamin Harkness. I'm a partner and chief operating officer at a company called the Management Group. We operate in the southeast of the United States. Just to give you a quick little nugget about why I got into a lot of pet love. We had, like many of you have had, we had someone apply for a service animal at one of our apartment communities, and it felt suspect, and our manager had a good sniffer, and she said, this is ridiculous. The person, the doctor lives in Hawaii and wrote the letter that he hasn't even seen the patient, but he believes he needs this dog. And we were fighting back and forth about why he didn't need it. And then we engaged a lawyer, and we were paying money. And then I just had this moment and said, why are we fighting so hard for this? If someone told me I couldn't bring my dog under whatever circumstances, I would say, forget you, and we're leaving. And so we really looked at why did we have these beliefs? And we said, we've always believed that you couldn't have aggressive breeds or you couldn't have this. And we said, where did that list come from? And so we talked to our lawyer, we talked to our insurance, and it was kind of an invented narrative, this historical thing that had been passed down. So we said, forget it. And we said, we allow all breeds. We love all breeds and no weight limits. And we did something radical. We said, no pet rent, because we really wanted to be welcoming and opening to to all of our pets. And we did that with some responsibility. And one of those was with PooPrints. We said, if we're going to allow all pets, then we're going to do that with PooPrints. And of course, a shout out for pet screening. And we did it with a few other things to create responsibility for our owners and for the other residents. So anyway, that's why we love pets at TMG. We love pets, and we're able to do this because of PooPrints.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamin. Gina, do you want to give us a little intro on you and your time at Blue Ridge and now at Willowbridge?
Sure. So I'm Gina Carter. I spent the first half of my life in operations at Blue Ridge, and we rolled out a pet inclusive program. We stole the idea from Jamin, so Jamin is my hero. And now I work in operations for Willowbridge Property Company. I started there in May. I am a huge advocate of PooPrints and pet screening. And fun fact about me is I don't have any pets. I'm actually allergic to pets. And so they continue to ask me to speak, probably because I bring that angle to the conversation. But I do have a lot of passion about the programs for people like me who don't really want to have pets in their community. Or have them be responsible, like Jamin said. I think there's a lot to be said there is the people who don't register their pets tend to be the problems. They'll find a way out of it. So happy
Gina, you do have an interesting perspective. We talked about putting dogs on this slide instead of people's faces, but I was like, oh no, we're going to like bust Gina out if we don't do a pet photo here. So
you can do Scooby-Doo or something.
There we go. And then Vanessa, if you, guys, just a little preview for you all. We have a very exciting partnership that we're going to be releasing at the end of this, or at least announcing at the end of this. That's coming down the line soon. Vanessa, do you want to tell us a little bit about Fi Collar?
Yep. So I'm Vanessa. I've been with Fi for 6 years. I've been with us since we were at 1,000 dogs. Now we're on 500,000 dogs. So it's been a really fun journey. But yeah, Fi is like an Apple Watch for your dog. We do GPS location tracking, health monitoring, lots of community features. We're on our 4th version of the collar. So just happy to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We are excited to have you. So guys, I do want to put our panelists on the spot for a second on kind of the future of pet policy. So through this, I feel like a lot of this conversation is more so what we are currently doing, maybe the state of the industry as it is. On the future side, I do want to see, you know, what is the future of pet policy in your guys' perspective? So if you all could give me one word, Jay, I'm going to put you on the hot seat first, but the future of pet policy is, what's your word?
Well, you know, obviously I'm a little biased and I wanted to, my word was going to be genetics, but you told me that wasn't cool. And so I'm going with technology. And I say biased because I am coming to you today from our lab. We're excited about our technology and that we're using. So I'm going with technology. I think that people want, pet owners, operators, how do they leverage technology to make things easier?
Jay, it looks like most of the scientists are hiding in the lab, maybe because they
Yeah.
know. But thanks.
We are close to the lunch hour. There we got
There we go.
interest there. Yeah.
Okay, Jamin, I'm going to put you on the hot seat. What is the future of pet policy to you?
Welcome. We welcome we welcome your fur babies. We welcome them. We know that to many people, they're just as important as children are. We welcome them.
Okay. Gina?
I had a feeling Jamin was going to say that. I thought he was going to use the word inclusive, but I agree. Welcome and inclusive. Simplify the policy. Don't make it complicated.
Okay.
Complicated, it's hard to understand.
Awesome. And then Vanessa, kind of from a maybe not multifamily view, what do you guys kind of see as the future? Maybe I'll give you a pass, maybe not pet policy, but the future of pet ownership.
I think community, even though we're kind of touching on that, but we see that section of our collar growing really fast. We see people are interested in learning more about other people's dogs and connecting with other dog owners to ask questions and just learn more about responsible dog ownership.
Awesome. We are big advocates of responsible dog ownership around here. Thank you. Okay, guys, so I do want to talk about the state of the industry really quickly before kind of tossing it to some other panelists and engaging them. As our team was researching to do this webinar, we did pull in some really cool stats. I do have to give a nod to the Pet Inclusive Housing Initiative over at Michelson Found Animals. You are going to hear me mention a lot of their stats through this. But a few that we really wanted to share is that pet ownership is at an all-time high. I think we all know that, but the actual stat in a recent survey was 59% of renters have pets. That's more than they have children, which I think we all know that, but it's also more than they have plants, which I found absolutely crazy. So we have more people on your sites that have four-legged friends than they have plants in their units. And then we also see that pet-friendly housing is hard to find. 80% of respondents say that. So there's definitely a disconnect in the industry. The stat is 76% of apartments say that they're pet-friendly, but then 80% of people say pet-friendly housing is hard to find. So there is really a disconnect, and that's what we're hoping to kind of hone in on in this conversation today. Kind of with our what I would say is innovative panel of people who are truly pet friendly. What are they doing maybe to increase that pet friendly or pet inclusive vibe on their properties, for lack of a better?
Hey, Mckenzie, that's okay. Let the people keep their restrictions because they're just going to come to Gina's communities at Willowbridge and to my communities at TMG because that's our secret sauce.
Right. No, I thought about that when you and I were talking, Jamin, and kind of putting together some of your tips. I'm like, man, he's given away all of the tricks here. No, that's awesome. So Jay, I do kind of want to throw it to you for a second from the biopet perspective. You know, you've got a database of 1.5 million pets with PooPrints. So you're working on the operator side, but then you're also working on this pet friendly side directly with the customers, directly with the pet owners. What do you kind of see as the state of the industry currently?
Well, it's interesting if you take a step back and look at it from the pet owner standpoint and what we've seen in PooPrints and just pet owners in general in some of the other services we do is, and you like words. So I tried to think of like, what are two words that I would use? And it was informed and inquisitive. So, and if you even watch pet owners, I think from a multifamily side and the questions we get, you see people in general nowadays are more informed than ever. Like they have the World Wide Web. They're trying to look. They know what amenities exist. They know what they see. They know pet products that exist, but they've become more inquisitive than ever. How do they prolong their pet's life? What do these things mean around genetic traits and health traits? What do these programs really mean that I have been informed about, like PooPrint or Pet Screener that exist? So it's been really interesting to watch the pet owner take this proactive approach around being informed and inquisitive.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Jay. And I am going to put, no offense to Jay, I do really like his perspective, but I am going to be putting Gina and Jamin a little more on the hot seat as we lean into current pet policies. So to Jamin's point, what is TMG doing? What is Willowbridge doing? Or, what have you guys seen and done in the industry that you feel like players are doing that are allowing us to be pet friendly? But I want to look at current pet policies. So from a policy perspective, we see restrictions, pet fees, violations, and then kind of on the fun side, we see amenities. So those are all things that kind of encompass a pet policy on a property. And I want to start on the not so fun side. I want to start on the restrictions. Jamin and I prepping for this webinar, he had some really fun, or I guess some really insightful views that they take on restrictions at TMG. Jamin, you've kind of alluded to some of them, but talk to us about, what restrictions do you have, if any?
Yeah, so we have 0 breed restrictions, 0 size or weight restrictions, 0 health restrictions. We do couple that with responsibility. And so when we eliminate that, of course, I have to sell that to our owners also.
Right.
And so that answers the questions on the restrictions. I guess we'll wait to answer the other questions about fees and things after.
Yeah,
Gina talks.
absolutely. Gina, on your side, what kind of restrictions do you see in the industry or do you guys have on your current sites?
Yeah, so again, I already gave away the secret sauce that I stole from Jamin, so it wasn't an original idea. I know I heard him speak many years ago. I think it was at an NAA conference. And these days, it's really hard to apply for an apartment in general, right? You got to just prove the identity of the person that's applying. And then you got to go through another extra step to approve the identity of your pet, right? So it just slows the process down. And when I started in the industry, I remember a long list of breeds that you couldn't have. And then it was like, well, if it's mixed with it, you're out. And if it looks like it, you're out. And it was just too complicated to go through the process. And our owner was very passionate about pets and pet ownership, and responsible pet owners have responsible pets. And so we were very passionate about making sure that the pets were vaccinated when they were allowed to be vaccinated. That they didn't have history of aggression. So, Chihuahuas, we always laugh and said those are the crazier pets than the pit bulls sometimes. If they're not trained properly, everybody's seen, a Chihuahua in their day that they're probably running from. So we looked at it from that perspective. If the pet owner is doing the responsible things by doing what they're supposed to do for their pets, getting it vaccinated, taking care of it. So we don't have any, or for a group of properties that Willowbridge manages that we kept the no breed restrictions on, there are no rules except for the vaccination and is there a history of aggression with a specific animal.
Right.
Yeah, and can I jump in and say the way we manage that, and I think the way Gina manages it also, is with a company, Pet Screening, because that keeps it all together. It makes the owner, upload everything. But, part of the responsibility with the restrictions, Mckenzie, is that if they have any violations of these things, if we have aggression or anything like that, we have a 3 strike and you're out policy. And then also one of the things that we require is that we require an animal liability endorsement on the resident's renter's insurance. And we really double check that. That's like part of our commission checklist. So that's required.
Okay, awesome. I can see where that would definitely help from the, I guess, accountability and like full standpoint of being sure that that pet owner is going to be responsible on your site. I do want to transition to pet fees a little bit. I think this is a hot topic in the industry. And, in prepping for this, we actually saw Michelson Found Animals, they released a 2025 report, which was very good timing. And they had some stats on it that 69% of pet owning renters report fees as a key barrier to securing housing. And across all income levels, one fee that they said was the most burdensome was the pet rent. So, in this webinar, we're not really here to advocate one way or the other. You obviously know what's good for your portfolio, but I did think this was a stat that I really wanted to highlight is Michelson asked, okay, if you have a hard time, if you can't rent with your dogs because of the fee, because of the pet rent, what are you doing? And roughly 75% of the answers here are things that we, or I guess you as operators, probably don't want to see. They are either finding another place to live, they're having their pet declared as an ESA, which means that you're not going to capture those fees anyways, or 13.8% are keeping their pet hidden. So that was very, very telling to me from a pet fee perspective of kind of the impact from the renters. Jamin, I'm going to pick on you for a second. I know you guys talk to me a little bit about fees. You're doing something really interesting with your pet fees, correct?
Correct. And, for me to, roll out PooPrints, it's not, it's not nothing. So just to give you a perspective, we charge $200 for a pet fee to start is what we were doing. And $200 was our minimum deposit. So $400. We said to roll out PooPrints, we increased that by $50. So it's $250. That covers our cost of the, of the initial, the initial PooPrints. And then we also rolled out just in the last few months, our primary owner's, his name is John Paul. His dog who passed recently, her name was Mia, and so they created the Mia Foundation. And so now we've increased the fees a little bit more to $300, and the $50 of every one of our pets that move in goes to the Mia Foundation. And we use the Mia Foundation for our residents who have a need for emergency pet surgery or any kind of emergencies with the pets. They can submit a form, and there's a scoring rubric and all of that. I think it's such a tremendous lean in to the pets. But also, I wanted to tell you, and so we don't think that $300 is a lot of money for someone that loves their animal, and another couple $100 for a pet deposit. But also, 2 or 3 times a year, we do a program for a whole month that if you adopt a pet, we waive the fee portion.
Wow.
That's awesome. I really think the Mia's Foundation, like that is very unique. And I haven't heard that in the industry. I don't know if you stole it from someone or if you are the brainchild of that. Nod to you, because I think
no, I wish. No, I wish. I think it was our owner and our marketing director, Brooke, that came up with that. And I think it shows that we really care.
right.
That we really do lean into pet love.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's amazing. I do want we are going to get onto pet amenities in the next slide, but I do have a violation slide that I want to chat through with you guys. Obviously, I think this kind of ties into what we were discussing in the beginning on your restrictions. So a lot of the reason for pet restrictions has to do with the violations that may come along with pets. So whether that be waste, barking, biting, off leash, we do have violations that we want to be sure from an accountability perspective that we can capture these things. We can understand how often they're happening to be sure that they don't happen. Gina, I'm going to kind of tap you to talk through, what violations, what services you guys use, or, what rules you have around violations at your portfolio.
Yeah, so Jamin kind of talked about his 3 strike you're out rule, and we implemented 1 strike and you're out for the properties that have no breed restrictions. We tended to see that whenever there was an issue, most likely the pet was not registered through the pet screening program and or even PooPrints. It's always interesting. Like I said, the responsible pet owners are not always responsible when they don't do the things they're supposed to be doing, and then it's just a trickle down effect. And so that's one of the things that we decided, and we did not have any more issues with bites specifically once we implemented the no breed restrictions. Again, it was consistently that the issues were for people that were not registered or pets that were not registered. So one of the things that we've been looking into is just making sure that all the pets are properly registered. And I spent a day in the life, I think it was about a year ago, on site, going back into the daily life of what it is to be a leasing consultant on property. And I'll never forget the day a resident called me and said there's a big pile of poop outside my door. And I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. I think I texted Jay that day. I was so excited. I got my gloves on. I was ready to go scoop up the poo. And we did the little kit, and it was a pet that was not registered, but we knew what building it lived in. And we had a crazy Karen that was looking out the window for us to try to figure out what pet lived there. And then we were able to, you know, follow the proper protocol to get that pet registered or the resident evicted, whichever came first, right? But I'll just add one last comment. I said earlier that unfortunately I was, you know, gifted with the allergies of pets. And so when somebody like me is looking for a place to live, when you see pets running around or you see poo everywhere, it's not that exciting of a place to move into. When you see the well-maintained pet parks and the poo stations for picking up after your pet, and then you actually see that there's no pet waste on the ground, or you see the responsible pet owners, it's more exciting for somebody like me to choose a place for to live in those conditions. So when we say pet inclusive, it's also people inclusive, and we're real big on making sure that we enforce our pet policies.
Awesome.
And Mckenzie, can I just say, well, I mean, first of all, I just forget how smart Gina is. She's just so dang articulate. I love the day in the life of a leasing consultant. I need to do that. But, you know, I always say this whenever I'm talking to investors and owners and even our managers when I'm trying to give them ideas and inspire them, is that, do you know who really likes our pet policy as it relates to PooPrints? And this isn't an advertisement. It's the non-pet owners, because they know they're going to live in a clean community. I'm going to let you in on a secret too. We have the strict rules. Okay, and by the way, this isn't hard when you say that you want to roll out. If you choose, anyone that's listening to this, if anyone that wants to roll out these kinds of policies, we use Blue Moon and we use the NAA lease also. And so you may think it's a daunting or a heavy lift to change all these policies. I mean, we're in a few different states. We just talk to our lawyer in that state. We get a few sentences and we add it to the special steps addendum. It's easy. There's always a place where you can add a few rules in there, you know, and we do that. You know, we have it listed. We say the first time that we catch you, it's $350, and the next time it's $500 is what we charge you. But here's my secret, okay? Here's our secret. We always waive the first time. We scare them, we waive them, and we think that's the kind thing to do. We do it once a lease term, the same thing as we do with an NSF and a late fee. We want to be kind owners and managers and understand that life happens. And, you know, we may put it on their ledger. It's going to scare them and they're going to come in there hot, but we're going to turn it around and I guarantee you we're not going to have that issue again. And we keep track of it.
Yeah.
Right.
You
We
know,
definitely go on, Jay.
I was gonna say, you go ahead. I think we're going to say the same thing.
We were, I think, yeah, from the PooPrints perspective, we really do see that on the violation side, you know, it's great to get a match, but obviously that does mean it's going to track back to the pet owner. And we typically don't see violations from the same people over and over again. There is one violation, they've kind of learned their lesson, and then from there, they're going to be picking up.
Or go ahead, Mckenzie. Sorry, I keep cutting you off. I
No,
think
you
it's
go.
internet delay.
Go.
Well, I was going to say this, you know, it's interesting, Jamin, you talk about non-pet owners loving the program. We have even found, and we've been trying to engage pet owners recently, we have found that pet owners love it. And, you know, it's unfortunate sometimes it's a small amount. You know, our statistics show us that 30 to 40%, and really it's more on that 30 don't pick up. And pet owners love it because we have found most of the violations occur at night. It's all about human behavior sometimes, right? They're night, they're winter. And so pet owners love it because when they have PooPrints in the community, they know that they can come home from work, they can go out and take their dog, and they can maybe even be barefoot in this nice, pretty grass that's provided, and they don't have to worry about stepping in it.
Well, and and the pet, I know Gina used the word like we have those Karens. We got them too, Gina. And anyone else listening to this webinar, we got I got a stack of them over here. But they are our police because the ingenious idea of the green tag. They look for dogs without the tag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And guys, for those listening, PooPrints does have a green custom dog tag that goes for every poo printed pet. So that is like a visual identifier on site. If that pet's not poo printed, you're going to know because they don't have the tag on display. I do want to take a second kind of to what Gina mentioned on, when she's touring a property or as a leasing agent, what would she want to see? You don't want to see pets off leash. You don't want to see waste everywhere. So really the two items that are on each side of this slide, the waste and the off leash, are things that from a prospect perspective can really affect you on site. When you've got people that are coming to tour, if you've got a community that has waste everywhere or has dogs off leash, maybe they're not kind of confined in a good way to the pet park where it is clean and that is the dog designated area, you are kind of compromising that reputation and that curb appeal for your community because people are making decisions on their kind of initial reactions to what your site looks like and feels like. One stat I did put together on our 40% is at a 200 unit property, we're saying 40% of them, 40% pet friendly, 40% of pet owners don't pick up. So that is 32 pets that would be going twice a day. That's 64 total piles or 448 piles a week that could be on your site if people are not picking up after their pet through kind of our stats that we see when sites don't use PooPrints. So that's kind of a massive potential detractor if you're on a tour and you've got people who are stepping in pet waste left and right. Jay, I did interrupt you. Is there anything else you want to throw in?
No, I mean, you were talking about the off leash. Like I have been fascinated. We have seen more and more conversation about off leash recently. And I just enjoy it. There's been leash laws for years and it's fascinating to think about. And I was talking with a dog trainer recently that was talking about just because people have a dog doesn't mean they're always other dog people, you know what I mean? And dogs don't always want to meet. Some people think, hey, I'm responsible, my dog's friendly, I don't have to have it on a leash. And the example they gave was you don't walk down the streets in New York City and try and shake the hand of everybody you pass. And I was like, I hadn't even thought about that. Like everybody thinks every dog wants to meet. They don't always want to meet.
Right.
Dogs are introverted.
There are introverted dogs too.
Absolutely. I think I have one. All right, guys, I do want to transition, the violation slide. We just spent a hot minute talking through violations. That's not necessarily the fun part of pet friendliness. I do want to take a second to talk about pet amenities. So on the flip side of violations, we do want to be rewarding our pet owners, creating a good community environment and rewarding them for being responsible. So Gina, I'm going to tap on you first. Kind of tell me about some of the things from an amenity perspective that you guys might, invest back into the community or you may do to create some added value for pet owners.
Yeah, I think Jamin has way more cool ideas than we do. And if we had any, we stole them from him probably. But I know the two that we were very passionate about was the doggy parks, the pet parks. I think we went back and forth a million times with what's the proper way to call it, that thing. Dog
Right.
park, bark park. We're like, we don't want them to bark in there, all the different names that you come up with. But we did invest in some AstroTurf in that area and some nice agility equipment. Again, from an outsider's perspective looking in, it definitely looks just as interesting as the playground that you have for the children in your community. And then the other thing that we did when we could, if the spaces allowed it to happen, was the doggy washing stations. We had a lot of communities that were 20 plus years old and they were originally built with the washer and dryer room. And most of the units had washers and dryers in them anyway. And then we started providing washers and dryers over the years. And so it was like, what do we do with that space? And it was already hooked up for water. So we made it into the doggy grooming station. And that was a huge hit. I constantly when I spent my day in the life, but I'm looking at amenities and what amenities are getting utilized. And those are definitely getting utilized.
I agree. The dog washing and grooming stations are some of my favorites. Just anytime I'm on site, which is pretty rare, but I have been to sites that have those, and I think that's a total game changer. Jamin, at TMG, do you want to enlighten us on some of the stuff that you guys do?
Yes, I love to talk about it, but I also want to say that you got to walk before you run. And we rolled these things out over time. CapEx, I did PooPrints in my CapEx, and I was able to sell that. Dog parks, we expanded some at some of our communities where we could have small dog parks, large dog parks. But just if you think about it, dog parks are like an extra amenity that sometimes we just throw a fence and some mulch and we're done. We change our mulch not change it, we add to our mulch a couple times a year. We make sure that we have a water fountain in there. So maybe that's something we add as soon as we get some more CapEx in there. We realize that shade is important. We make sure that we put benches inside and around the around the dog parks, but we will add shade sails. A lot of people hate shade sails because they only last a couple of years. At the same time we put in shade sails, we also plant trees so that we can have some natural shade. If you think about this, our pet owners go to the dog park more than they do the fitness center, and more they go to the pool. And so we regularly have yappy hours when the weather is good, and we go out there with margarita and give the little margarita pouches out, our beers, and we just bring a cooler. We throw toys out in our dog parks, and we have a lot of dogs that like to keep the toys, and we see them walking around with that. We have the pet stations. We've been creative. We've converted some garages to be in the pet washes. We've done it in some storage rooms, and we have one outdoor. You can buy the outdoor stations too. We do pet events regularly, once a month. We feature it in our social media calendar, how much pet love we have. We invite our prospects to bring their pets on tours. So when we always ask if you have a pet, and we ask what's the name of the pet, we make sure we put it in our CRM notes, and so we can refer to the pet, and then we invite them on the tour also, and we're serious about that too. And then one other cool thing, these are just I work with a great team of people, and so they're not all my ideas, but my team has a really great ideas, is that we added when we were looking at employee benefits, because we're an employee first company here. We have incredible benefits, but this one I love is that we have a bereavement. We expanded our bereavement policy to 2 weeks for immediate family, 1 week for extended family, and 3 days for your pet. Yeah, so that's kind of an amenity and also an employee benefit that we have.
Love it. Jamin, one thing that I did add shortly before we started this, if you want to hit on your pet stations too.
Thank you. Yeah, we do have pet stations that they roll out in every single office. We have regular dog visits every single day. I know that this is 15, 20 years old, where we always had a little jar of old bones on someone's desk. We actually enhanced it, and we bought these little stands on Amazon, and we keep them active, and we put toys in there, and we do bandanas and water bowls. We change out the water every day. So we have pet stations in all of our leasing offices also.
I really do feel like that's a game changer from the tour perspective of, hey, what's your dog's name? Bring your dog on the tour. And then they arrive and get a bandana. That's what I saw in this photo and thought like that's just an awesome experience. Something that we did learn kind of putting this together was Zillow had a stat that the pet friendly toggle on their site is the most utilized toggle from the filter perspective. So, I mean, just think of that, they're looking for a pet friendly place. They find a TMG property and they roll up and get a ton of just pet friendly love and care. That's awesome.
I'm going to go back. Go ahead, Jamin.
No, I was just going to say, if I'm a prospect, if you love my dog, I love you.
There you go.
I got to go back to that bereavement real quick. I mean, we are a pet company, and I'll announce it right here. Shame on us. I think that will be something we will probably enact internally. I mean, they are part of your family, and who hasn't, unfortunately, if there's some illness or they pass away, who hasn't had to take some time? And so, Mckenzie, make note. I think we were going to have a biopet policy change.
We were going to have a whole discussion in our one-on-one next week. You didn't even know it yet, but it was good from Jamin's ideas.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that.
Awesome guys. So we are near the tail end. We have just a couple things left. I wanted to lean into resident perception, just asked a few questions on kind of how you communicate the pet programs that you have to your residents. Jamin, maybe you answered this, you're asking them their pet's name, you're inviting them on tour. From you guys have mentioned that you use pet screening, you use PooPrints. How do you kind of communicate some of those programs to your residents?
We have a pet in the office every single day. At most communities, we allow one pet per day in the office every single day. We regularly have toys in the office. We have a toy box, and we let our dogs take the toys. So we're always filling up our toy boxes because, I don't know. I'm sure that your dogs have favorite toys also. We
Right.
also don't forget cats. So we give away cat toys too. I'm a recently new cat owner. I never had a cat in my life, and now I have a cat. And then I guess the residents' perception, I guess just them seeing. I think that when you have a resident that comes in hot because their apartment got flooded or they got a late fee, or something happened, if you have a dog coming up smelling and loving on you, I think it just calms everything down. I don't know if that answers the question, but I think we just we practice what we preach. We don't just say it and add a few bullet points to our advertising. We practice what we preach.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I think most of this discussion has kind of already set up the fact that I think from a resident perception, everybody on here has sites that are not only say pet friendly in name, but pet friendly in experience as well.
Oh yeah, and we do a bark box once a month. We do a pet of the month, and we feature it in our social media, and we do a bark box for the winner of the pet of the month.
I love it. Okay.
Maybe we'll be doing a fee collar soon.
Yes, we would want a FI collar. That would be
Fee collar soon.
Yeah, we can get with you guys on that. I think that would be just another way to create kind of a welcome atmosphere. I
got a question. I was going to throw, I got a crazy question. Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but do you think your residents sometimes perceive these programs as an amenity? Sometimes, as a person who has a program, we try to add value. We try to add partnerships. Do you think some of them see it as an amenity or an added value?
I think especially our large pet owners and our aggressive breed, what people consider aggressive breed, because they know they can't likely go somewhere else. And so, we have this crazy stat that we throw around. It sounds crazy. I double check it once a year. When we look at our renewals, Jay, and I don't know if Gina's looked at this or not, but when we look at our renewals, 80% of our residents that have pets, 80% renew.
Wow.
That's fantastic for us.
Yeah, that's huge.
We looked at that stat at one point, and I can't remember the number, but I will say that. So I was with Willowbridge for 24 years, and we had pet screening and PooPrints at all of our properties. And now Willowbridge manages those same communities, but they have 1,000 communities, and they have all kinds of owners. And it is interesting when you are on a property that doesn't have PooPrints or pet screening in place. Some of the residents actually put it in their feedback, because these programs are so recognized, specifically PooPrints, that it's like, how come this property doesn't have that? When they're familiar with using it or seeing it, and then you step outside and you see the lovely surprises, I think you guys call them. I think that is a huge win. Sometimes it's hard to sell. And I will say just one quick thing, and I think there is a question that I can maybe address for us. We charge pet rent still. So although Jamin decided not to, we are a third party owner operator, and income is important to them. And we still charge pet rent. But I think what's important in this day is fee transparency. Everybody knows those words right now. And when you make your pet fees complicated, like depending on the pet and what it looks like and what it did yesterday and, what score it gets and all those things, I think it's just important to just be clear with your pricing. And so I'm a huge advocate of pet fees per pet period at the end, and not tiered and all that kind of stuff, just because I think it makes for a better experience when you're applying online. It's really important that your information online matches the words that come out of your mouth when you're touring, right? So the easier it is to explain to yourself, it's easier for them to understand.
Awesome. Thank you, Gina. We have 2 slides left, guys, or 2 sections left. I do want to cover the risks of an action just really quickly to kind of put a bow on everything we've talked about today from the pet friendliness side is, what happens if you're a portfolio and you don't really adapt to pet friendliness in the industry? Some stats that our team kind of did some research on is the financial exposure. So because of unregistered pets, maybe they're hiding from pet fees or they're not even allowed to have pets in general. Operators are estimated to miss out on about 1.5 billion annually in missed pet fee revenue and deposits. On the reputation side, pet waste is a #1 complaint in, from 84% of respondents. And that was a really powerful stat to us. People are going on tours, maybe they're living on your property, and pet waste is the #1 pet related issue. And then finally, just operational strain. So if you don't have an effective pet policy to manage, from end to end, from the resident moving end to the waste side, if you don't have an effective leash policy or bite policy, you kind of are adding additional workload for staff, delaying maintenance, adding stress to enforcement efforts. And then all of that said, the exciting part that we are kind of really looking forward to sharing with you guys, I'm going to put Vanessa on the spot in a second, is kind of shifting conversation from compliance to pet wellness, added programs, added value. We know that we are all pet friendly on this call, but PooPrints has really sought out partners to become more and more pet friendly and add additional value to our residents. So with FiCollar, we are actually partnering and offering a new incentive to PooPrints pet owners that are registered. Once their DNA is on file with us, they will have the opportunity to redeem an offer for a FiCollar. And Vanessa, I'm going to throw it to you to let you kind of introduce what Fi is and why it's so awesome.
Yes. Hi. So yes, we are Fi. We are like an Apple Watch for dogs. I can just kind of go over this slide, but ultimately our mission is to give your dog a longer, healthier, and happier life. Within the collar, you have GPS location and all those things, but we also really focus on the health aspect of your dog. Obviously, your dog can't tell you when things are wrong, but we give you valuable data that kind of helps you look at your dog's health and paint a better picture for you as a pet owner. So again, yes, we have live GPS tracking. We also offer escape alerts. You can draw a safe zone around your apartment or your home, and if your dog leaves that without you, you will get a notification. And like I said, we also have the health and activity monitoring that is steps, sleep, walk, and we also do licking, barking, scratching, eating, and drinking detection. You get live notifications when your dog is doing these things. And we also are waterproof with a 3-month battery life. And so here are just some screenshots from our app. You can look at the very first one on your left. It says Rosie. That is just our home screen, gives you your dog's current live location, all the information there, and it gives you also the steps. And we also give you a timeline, everything your dog has done throughout the day. You can also keep tabs on their walks. If you have a walker, you can add the walker to the Fi app, so that way you can track and make sure they're going on the right amount of time walk, things like that. And also the last screenshot on the right is our health tab. That does show you their rest and their activity, barking, eating, all those things. So it's been, that is a new feature that we just launched 2 months ago. So it's been really exciting to see all the data coming back.
And guys, shameless plug, I have a recent FiCollar on my dog now since this partnership, and it's been a game changer. I can track his steps. As someone who is a big, Fitbit advocate, it's essentially like a Fitbit on my pet. So it's been really amazing to see. It's actually past our thank you slide. So I wanted to hit on the leaderboards. We only have a couple minutes left, Vanessa, but the leaderboards I think are an exciting opportunity from a community perspective. Jamin or Gina, imagine if you've got PooPrints residents that also have FiCollars, you can do Vanessa, I'll let you chat about it, but you can have leaderboards that are focused at your community to kind of gamify and increase that community feel.
Yes. So we offer these Fi leaderboards that anytime your dog, we have a few different ways we can build these for you, but essentially they are step-based competitions we created these 4 dog parks, and now we've really expanded those into vets, vet offices, all kinds of other dog-related doggy daycares, things like that. But it's really fun, and people, you know, everybody wants their dog to be number one, wants their dog to be top dog. So they're really willing to go and take that extra walk just to get those extra steps to boost their dog on the leaderboard. It's been really fun to grow this. We have about 100 of these live in dog locations now, and we're building out 4 apartments and things like that as well.
Awesome.
We need a biopet leaderboard so Mckenzie will stop texting me her rank. You know, we're pretty.
Jay's dog is slaying my dog. Absolutely. It's embarrassing, but I have learned my dog needs to get some more steps. I need to get away from the desk.
Easy enough. I've got a biopet leaderboard coming to you guys today.
Cool. Everybody, we are so grateful for you all attending and chatting through pet friendliness with us. Keep an eye out. Give us about an hour. You will see an email with your unique FI offer, where you're able to redeem it as a thanks for attending. You can get a FI collar for your pet. And you know, thank you guys. We've got a picture of Jamin's Jax here. I had to do a shameless plug and get him in this. But yeah, thank you everyone. We will have follow-up info to you. Have a wonderful rest of your day.